obviously there's no spring planting going on, and there'll be no harvest going on. And on top of that, many regions west of Kyiv and north of Kyiv and east of Kyiv were mined by the Russians when they were pushed out. I have many friends who have thousands and thousands of acres that they have to demine or remove unexploded artillery and other things out of their fields. So many of those farmers are not planting this year.
That's Roman Fedorowycz, Ukrainian hemp farmer, talking about life during wartime. This is the Lancaster Farming Industrial Hemp Podcast. My name is Eric Herlock, and we've got quite a show lined up for you this week. This is our spring planting episode, and I'll be talking to farmers from all over, including Roman Fedorowycz, who shares his very unique perspective on spring planting in Ukraine. We've got fiber, we've got grain, we've got cannabinoids. We've got something here for everybody and a few surprises. We've got 10 relatively short yet insightful interviews for your enjoyment and education. So we'll take a quick sponsor break and then we'll get right into it. This episode is brought to you in part by Westtown Bank and Trust. Most banks won't bank hemp-related businesses, and many of the ones that do only do so behind closed doors. But Westtown Bank doesn't just bank hemp, they embrace the entire industry. Westtown Bank has developed a full suite of business banking and payment processing solutions tailored specifically to the hemp industry. Their team of hemp experts provides the personal service your business needs so you can feel unquestionably safe and secure banking with Westtown. Find out why hemp banks here by visiting westtownbank.com/hemp. That's westtownbank.com/hemp. This episode is brought to you in part by IND Hemp in Fort Benton, Montana, where they are fully committed to the goodness of hemp. They've just redesigned their website too, so be sure to check out indhemp.com to learn more about the work they're doing. And you can keep up with IND Hemp in real time by following them on Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn at IND Hemp. All right, welcome back. So you may have noticed, maybe you didn't, but I didn't publish a show last week. I was out, I was sick, I had COVID, I'm fine now. So this week I wanted to celebrate the fact that it's spring and that people are planting and there's just a lot going on. We're going to skip the normal news nuggets section and all that stuff because this is a pretty long episode and I know you're busy, you have stuff to do, so I don't want to take up too much of your time. So I'm just going to let these interviews sort of flow one into another without too much setup in between. So, all right, I'll see you on the other side. Hello, Eric Trachtenberg from Paradise Hemp Farm. How are you doing?
Good, Eric. How are you?
I'm doing all right, hanging in there. So I'm calling around to different hemp growers in Pennsylvania and out in the rest of the country just to see how things are going with planting this year, or sort of what your outlook is. So how's it going?
So you're following the trail of woes, I take it. So as you know, I mean, I've grown just an acre or two the past year for CBD production and for some flower. We have a greenhouse, a 3,000 square foot greenhouse as well that we grow in for flower. And this year we'll certainly be scaling back. We'll have less plants outdoors, just maybe a couple hundred plants outdoors and 100 plants or so in the greenhouse. But yeah, just scaling back. Things have changed in the market in terms of what consumers are demanding from retailers, and just being frank with you, I mean, from what we've produced in the past, I have CBD distillate left over, from which we can make products and formulate things. So yeah, definitely scaling back this year, as I have heard some other people are doing as well. I don't know much about the fiber, grain, and true industrial side of things. I can only really speak to people who grow for flower and for cannabinoids. I do believe a large portion of the CBD flower market is moving towards true indoor cultivated flower.
Oh, okay. Can you tell me what varieties you're growing this year?
Same as I grew last year. Golden Kush and Frosted Lime, they both grew well. There's no reason not to use them again. Golden Kush finished up at 19% CBD, and Frosted Lime was almost 16%. So, I was happy with both of those numbers, and that's what we'll be growing again this year.
All right. Have you planted yet?
Yeah, we have started seedlings, and I had some kind of mother plants, things that I was looking into to see if I wanted to use them for reproducing within the greenhouse, et cetera. So we have a mix of both seeds and some stock as well.
Okay. Are you keeping an eye on what's happening in New York State with their hemp program?
I know that hemp farmers, I think who have been in the program for 2 years, were now kind of waved in and allowed with reduced licensing requirements and restrictions, able to get permits or licenses to grow THC. I forget what the limitations are. It's a certain acreage limitation or plant count or canopy size limitations. But certainly they're now kind of invited into the market up there.
Right. Do you foresee that ever happening here in Pennsylvania?
No, I do not. Being realistic, unfortunately, I do not.
Yeah. What do you think's keeping that from ever happening? Just politics?
Yeah, political will. Clearly, the only people who can get it done are the legislature, and it's not happening.
Right. Yeah. Huh. All right. Is there anything else you'd like to share with our listeners about what's going on there at Paradise Hemp Farm?
No, not much else. We're also growing a little bit of produce as well this year. Nothing substantial. We'll definitely stay in the game with hemp. We'll be formulating some products with the CBD distillate that we have. We'll be trying to grow high-end flower in our greenhouse this spring and summer. So we still look forward to growing it and cultivating the plant. Or I still look forward to growing it, cultivating the plant. I still love being around it.
Mm-hmm.
I still love being with it. But, just being sincere about what the retail market is demanding, it has shifted towards the cannabinoids, the hemp-derived cannabinoids that also have some psychoactive effects such as Delta-8, Delta-10, THCO, HHC, et cetera. From a retail perspective, that seems to be what's driving a large percentage of sales, or certainly an increased amount of the sales in the hemp space.
Is Delta-8 anything like you'd be interested in getting into?
No, not really. No, I'm not
Good.
that interested.
Yeah, I hear that.
Cool. As an attorney, I have clients who make and distribute those products. But myself personally, for my farm, my brand, products that we would create, formulate, and sell ourselves, no, I'm not interested.
All right. I often forget that you are also a practicing lawyer, so that's awesome.
No problem.
Yeah. And people can find that. What are you, pahemplawyer.com?
Yeah. Oh, sure. So it's pahemplawyer.com.
All right. Cool. All right. Well, Eric Trachtenberg, thanks for fielding my questions here today. It's always good to catch up with you.
No, I appreciate you giving me a call, and you're right. It is great to catch up.
Mike Murray from Mocha Hemp. Welcome to the Lancaster Farming Industrial Hemp Podcast. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me on, Eric.
Absolutely. So first, why don't you tell me a little bit about your hemp operation?
Okay. Well, we started about 3 years ago. We're actually now just planning our third season. And my wife, myself, and my son were kind of all at a job lull with the pandemic, with some time on our hands. And we have a real nice farm that we were really kind of looking to something to plant and grow and nourish. Mm-hmm. And so we all kind of decided on growing a hemp crop, obviously with the hemp bill being passed. So
sure,
we decided on that, and then it's been fun ever since.
All right. Well, where is your farm?
We're actually in upstate Pennsylvania in Bradford County, which is near Towanda, Pennsylvania.
It's gorgeous up that way.
Yeah, the region is called the Endless Mountains, or the Northern Tier. So we're just on the very northern end of the, kind of like the Pocono and Appalachian mountain range there.
Oh, okay. Cool. Well, how's planting going so far this year?
So far, so good. We're actually just starting to put the plants in the soil this week.
Okay.
And so far so good. The weather's been kind of holding out, besides being a little bit on the hot side.
Yeah.
We can't complain at all. We probably could have started a couple weeks ago, but we're always nervous about that first frost coming in.
Sure, yeah.
Kind of up until Memorial Day, there's always
that chance.
Always a 10% chance, 5% chance that you might get a heavy-duty frost, and we don't want that when we're kicking the season off.
So what are you growing, like variety-wise, and how much?
Yeah, well, we are growing about 550 plants, and it's a mix this year of we're adding 2 new strains to our mix. We're adding a Hawaiian Haze and the Special Sauce, in addition to what we had the previous 2 years, which was Berry Blossom, Electra, and CBG White.
Okay.
So we're trying to introduce some new strains each year to see kind of what our customers like and don't like. And then we're kind of like weeding them in and weeding them out, no pun intended. But as they, as their popularity increases, we want to keep the ones on that are selling a little bit better.
Right. Where do you source your genetics?
We started off with it in Colorado, and then we switched over to Oregon Seed Company, and we've been buying them from there for the last 2 seasons.
All right. And then talk to me about, what happens after harvest. What are you like vertically integrated? Are you're making your own products?
Yeah, we decided to kind of get our feet wet, just with the smokable product and concentrate on that. So it's a vertical squared, marketplace. Right. It's, have CBD in a smokable form. So we have a kind of a limited customer base as far as, not having oils or gummies or tinctures or salves or, any of that. But we just wanted to kind of test the market with that to see how it goes. And so far it's been pretty successful. But we handle all the, the harvesting and the drying and the curing ourselves. Okay. And then, my son and I both have a little bit of a marketing background where we were able to handle the packaging and the processing and website sales.
Cool. What is that website address?
It's mokahemp.com.
Okay. Is that MOKAHEMP?
MOKAHEMP.com.
All right. Cool. We'll put a link to that on the show page. What else should people know about what you're doing up there in Bradford County?
Well, we're a sustainable operation. We totally believe in, kind of feeding the soil and the soil food web. Mm-hmm. We're very, very conscious about that. We don't use any pesticides, herbicides, fungicides, any of that good old stuff that destroys the soil.
Right.
And, we have kind of a unique situation where we have a really nice freshwater pond, and that's what we irrigate with. So a couple of years ago when we were going through the drought and water was tough, the farmhouse is built on only a 14-foot, hand-dug well, so we don't nearly have enough irrigation supply to feed the hemp plants. So luckily we have this really nice pond that we pump the water out of and use that for our irrigation, and so far it's worked out real well.
Good. All right. Well, Mike Murray from Mocha Hemp, it's great to talk to you today. Thank you so much for your time, and I wish you all a really successful season.
Okay. Look forward to talking more. Thank you.
Rusty Peterson, welcome to the Lancaster Farming Industrial Hemp Podcast. How are you doing?
I'm great. How are you, Eric?
I'm hanging in there, doing all right. But I'm calling around to various hemp farmers around the country just to see how planting is going, what you've got in the ground, what you got, planned for the year, that sort of thing. So first, tell me, where you are and, what you grow.
Well, I am personally in mid-Michigan, but we basically go throughout the state to the west side, Grand Rapids, up to Ludington, and over to the Thumb area, St. Clair County. And we are doing 60 acres of 2 different varietals this year up east of the Ludington area, which is on the west side of the state.
Okay. 60 acres of what variety? What are you growing for?
So we are mainly going with Yuma. We have seen Yuma just perform like a powerhouse here the last couple of years that we've grown it. And then we're also putting in another varietal that is a bit of a newer Polish varietal that hasn't been grown too much in the States. So we figured Michigan would be a great testing ground for that.
Sure. What else can you tell me about the planting?
We direct seeded and we've shot for a planting population of 1.2 million for both varietals that we're growing.
Cool. And then what's the growth period? When do you harvest that?
So the Yuma varietal is a little bit longer to maturity, and since we're going more so for biomass and we're going straight fiber, different end-use applications that don't necessarily need a high-quality fiber, we are looking at approximately about 120 days, 121 days to be exact, is what we saw last year for the harvest on the Yuma varietal.
Okay.
With the Polish varietal, we're seeing probably is going to be a little bit, probably in the 110 to 115 day range.
Okay. And then what's the plan for processing?
So right now for processing, being that we're lucky and not so lucky that we don't have processing close to us, we've already had a lot of interest from two different groups that are wanting to potentially purchase the biomass, the harvested and stored biomass from us. And being that it's 60 acres, that provides us enough to do some more R&D. And then we also have the potential to store that for potential when processing does come to Michigan.
Okay. Cool. And any idea when that's going to happen?
You know, if you asked me this a year ago, I'd say it'd be in the ground right now. And if you asked me 2 years ago, I'd tell you the same thing. So it's the hemp industry, right?
Yeah.
And so anytime that anybody puts a date on anything, it's almost like a curse. In disguise, right? so I'm comfortable with saying it'll be here in the next 5 to 6 years. How about that?
All right. That sounds good. Yeah. So, what's your end goal? What's your vision? What's your purpose? Why are you growing fiber up there in Michigan?
Yeah, so 3 years ago when we started this.
A lifetime ago.
Yeah, absolutely, right? It was with an eye to the fiber and the decortication, everything with biocomposites and bioplastics, and then as you start to learn more and understand more, it's bioplastics are probably ways away, so now we're focusing on biocomposites and nonwovens. And of course, here in Michigan, we're strategically located where we have 43% of compounding that's done for plastics. We have tier 2 and tier 3 automotive manufacturers. So we're looking at multiple different industries for nonwovens, RV, aquamarine applications, and you can never say no to the construction side of things or the potential there, the animal bedding. But ultimately, we have our eye on the nonwovens first and foremost because some of our strategic connections and partners and colleagues that we have here in Michigan. And then, of course, the biocomposites. Being close to Indiana and Illinois and Michigan here kind of presents some really cool opportunities.
Cool. Good deal. And how's your weather out there? Weather conditions cooperating with planting?
Yeah, absolutely. We've actually had a pretty good, really good start to the season. It was a little wet at the very beginning, but what was nice was where we are planting at, we have nice sandy loam, and those fields stayed relatively moist, not too wet. The only thing that has kind of pushed back planting a little bit initially for us was just the corn and the soybean going in beforehand that some of these farmers that we're working with had to get in. But beyond that, it's been an ideal situation. Some of our colleagues just south of us that we're working with, they put in about a week and a half ago, and within 4 or 5 days, they had some really good emergence on some of the same varietals that we're growing.
Cool. All right. Well, I wish you great luck this season, and let's check in again a little bit later, see how things are going.
Yes, sir. I appreciate it, Eric.
All right. Rusty Peterson, and the name of your company is Essen Atlas. Is that right?
That is correct. Along with
right.
Corey Vanderswag is the other founder and owner.
All right. Cool. All right, Rusty. Well, thank you very much, and we'll talk to you soon.
Sounds good, Eric. Thanks.
Victor Allen Weeks from 40420. Welcome back to our podcast. How's it going?
It's going well, Eric. Thanks for having me again. Jalen is unable to be with us today, but he's studying hard, and I'm here to represent and just let you know what we got going on. So,
all right, cool. Yeah, so absolutely. Yeah, so what I'm doing on this week's show is just calling up farmers all around the country and just sort of hearing what's going on planting-wise and, conditions, that sort of thing. So, let's just start there. You got some plants or some seeds in the ground?
Oh, yeah, most definitely. We have some seeds in the ground. And so this year, we were able to get a few seeds from the genetics that we had last season. That was really exciting. And by a few, I literally mean like four seeds. So those were successfully germinated, thankfully. 100% germination rate from those 4 seeds. So excited to see how they produce. Was actually able to secure some additional genetics from Colorado Breeders Depot. Was able to talk to the geneticists out there, learn about their breeding program, and they got some really cool things going on. So looking forward to connecting with them a little bit more. And I'm just also excited to get some more fiber varietals going on and cultivars growing this year, just so we can keep the comparisons going on and just enhance our own aspect of the growth process. But yeah.
Cool. And you're in North Carolina, right?
Yeah, that's correct. We're in Caswell County, North Carolina.
Caswell County. And where, I don't know my North Carolina geography real well. What part of the state is that?
Most definitely. So it's kind of like north and central North Carolina. It's actually 20 minutes away from Danville, Virginia.
Oh, okay. Right on.
Yeah.
Cool. Good.
And it's an interesting climate because actually like around now it's been hitting the 90s. But it's interesting because you have these torrential rains, and then it's just like these hot seasons. But it's an interesting place to be in. It's an agricultural district. A lot of the farmers here in Caswell County historically have grown tobacco, soybeans, wheat, things like that. So It's cool to see that there's a plethora of knowledge that exists here, and to see how that can just transition into just pouring into our maneuver in the industrial hemp space.
Cool. All right. And you're getting sort of involved in the local community, and you're finding a good support network?
Yeah, I've been getting involved in the local community. Unfortunately, and maybe, I'll be on the fence about using the word unfortunately, but quite a few farmers who did transition over into hemp, they kind of have a bad taste in their mouth because they were really sold on the CBD extract and just concentrate route. But a lot of those, what's the word I'm looking for? A lot of those purchase contracts fell through, so a lot of people are kind of turned off to it. But there's still a few hemp farmers that are here and still just wanting to see it through longevity-wise. And just aside from within Caswell County, I've been connected with other farmers in North Carolina and even South Carolina. So there's Patrick Brown of Hempfinity, and then who's in North Carolina, and then Derek Muhammad, who's actually owner of Bossville Farms in South Carolina. Got to go out there.
Bossville, yeah. Actually, I just sent them a message today.
Awesome, yeah.
Yeah.
I got to go out there and be a guest speaker at their 420 planting party.
Oh, cool. Yeah, they followed me on Instagram, and thought it was cool what they were doing. So if you talk to them, tell them to message me back, and we'll get them on the show.
Oh, yeah, most definitely. I'll let them know you're not spam, and it'll be a good opportunity, absolutely.
Cool, right on. Cool. So it sounds like things are going pretty well for you.
Things are moving. It's an interesting pace. It's like a roller coaster ride. You got your ups, you got your downs, you got your thrills, and you got your slow moments. But I can say that we've been making progress. It's been cool to be in contact with the USDA. Again, they have their office hours every Wednesday from 4 to 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and it's been good to be in there, and they bring topics of conversation that they do presentations on and just share hemp news with everybody that's in the chat. And it's been a great place to build community and just engage in different ideas. Aside from that, I was able to attend the Industrial Hemp Summit. That was a phenomenal opportunity, hosted by the Southeastern Hemp Association. Got to meet some really great people.
Good.
We had our first event back in Atlanta, where our home community is. We had the 420 taste testing. So a lot of our family members, friends, and just other supporters who've been aware of our endeavors were able to show up, and we provided a few different infusions and combinations of just the flower that we cultivated last year, and was able to combine that with other products and got some interesting feedback on those. And
Cool.
yeah, additionally, we've submitted our trademark. So yeah, we're just getting some foundational things established just to make the marathon run a little bit easier.
There you go. Cool. All right. Well, hey, it's good to hear your voice, and good to hear that you guys are doing good. And tell Jalen I said hello, and hope is he studying for finals?
Yes. He's studying for this round of finals. It seems like they have tests every other week, if not every week. But yeah, he's in clinical rotations, doing his thing. He's learning a lot, and just really expanding his horizons in the anesthesia field. So proud of him, and just holding down the fort. And we look forward to having our second follow-up event at the end of June. So yeah.
Okay. Cool. Well, let's keep in touch, and we'll check in with you later in the season.
Sounds good. Thanks, Eric. You have a great day.
Jeff Limbaugh from Midwest Natural Fiber. Welcome to the Lancaster Farming Industrial Hemp Podcast. How are you doing today?
Oh, I'm doing great.
Good. So first, tell me where you are.
We're actually located in Sikeston, Missouri, which is basically in the boot heel of Missouri, the southeast corner.
And if you could describe your farming operation there, what are you growing? How much you growing?
We in this area here we grow a lot of cotton, corn, beans, wheat. We're into some specialty crops such as potatoes and popcorn and everything in what we call our southeast Missouri region, and that's one of the things that has kind of attracted us to the industrial hemp.
Okay, so hemp-wise, what do you have in the ground already?
We've got about 500 acres in the ground already up and growing. We're actually planting some today, finishing up a couple fields, and by tomorrow, they're calling for a chance of rain through here, but by tomorrow we'll end up with about 750 or 800 acres of out here in the growing on the farms.
Mm-hmm.
And then we actually have a 20-acre test plot that we already have in the ground also.
Oh, okay. And conditions are good this year?
Yeah, we was wet early, and we just continuously to get shower after shower, so it kind of delayed us a little bit. Our corn was behind, our beans were behind, and which that kind of made our hemp also behind. But
right.
We played catch up here in the last 2 to 3 weeks pretty quickly, so we got most everything in the ground up and growing.
Okay. And can you talk about like the varieties of hemp that you're growing?
Yeah, this is our third year growing, and again, we're raising for the industrial hemp for the fiber and the herd. We don't do anything with the CBD or anything like that. So, so our main focus over the last 3 years has been to learn, what varieties are growing best for us. And in our region here, over the last couple of years, there's a Chinese variety that has kind of been the best for us.
Was that the Jinma?
It's the Jinma, and then I call them. They have a couple sister varieties such as the Puma and the Yuma that we're trying this year also. We've got we've got an Australian variety. We've got some new fiber varieties coming in, and then we're going to be planting some dual purpose crop, as I call it, this year. In fact, we're going to be planting it this afternoon with some New West genetic varieties.
Oh yeah, I know New West genetics. So you're doing like a grain and fiber dual crop.
Yeah, we're going to be putting that in. We're actually going to do about 40 acres under center pivot, a couple different varieties, just to start looking at it in that manner.
Do you grow most of your hemp under pivot?
Most everything in southeast Missouri here is irrigated, and So yeah, all of our hemp for the most part will be irrigated. Majority of it with a center pivot, but we experimented last year with some furrow irrigation. So we're going to be planning a little bit more of it this year also, just to see again how it works.
Okay. And with the Jinma and those other fiber varieties, they get real tall, right?
Yeah, good fertile soils, with good fertility programs. We raised some last year that was 12, 14 foot tall.
Okay. And then how does that do with the like the THC compliance? Does it get hot?
We found last year that with good growing conditions and not stressing the plant, I'm going to call it, under irrigation and everything, we tested all of our varieties last year, and we didn't have any issues with the THC levels.
Oh, good. But you still have to do all the testing, though. Does that seem like a burden on the farmer?
Yeah, don't get me wrong. I truly understand how all the federal regulations are flowing down to the state regulations, and we're working with the state of Missouri, all the time on trying to recognize, where this needs to be a commercialized crop.
Right.
And so, yes, to answer you directly, that, with some of the regulations, some of the things we're having to do, it's just, more hurdles out here in the farming world that we're having to jump over.
Right. As if you need more hurdles to jump over as a farmer, right?
Right, yeah. It makes it much more difficult. But don't get me wrong, I do understand, rules are rules. We're complying with them, but I think it'll be recognized, as a commercialized crop here soon, especially what we're doing in the fiber and the herd world.
Yeah. And then how is it working with your Department of Ag? They pretty hemp friendly?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. They're we get a lot of support from them. They're very cooperative, and again, we're just having to work within our guidelines, and they stay by the guidelines. We do too, and but we're making it making it work and making it happen, and our ag department is wanting to see the success of this just as much as we are, so they're very supportive.
Good. And then processing. What do you do at the end of the season with your fiber?
Yeah, we actually was able. We had our processing center basically a year in the works of getting all the equipment in and getting it all set up. And there was some the harvesting, the mowing down, mowing the product, the hemp plant down. And then drying it out and getting it baled and getting it moved into the facility was, some challenges there, but we figured those out, and the processing center got up and running, and so we're actually, separating the fiber and the herd. We've got some additional refinement equipment in there, I call, which is being able to clean the herd and clean the fiber. So we're improving on it daily, but it's come a long ways in the past 12 months.
Good. All right. Well, Jeff Limbaugh, it's really great to talk to you. Thank you for your time today. It's neat to get a picture of what's going on down there in Missouri.
Yeah. No, thanks for calling, and call me anytime, and I'll kind of give you an update of where we're at. If you want to call back during the growing season, I can kind of give you an overview of where we're at with the varieties we got planted.
Yeah, that'd be great. Appreciate that. Aaron Baldwin, welcome back to the Lancaster Farming Industrial Hemp Podcast. How are you doing?
Doing great. It's a nice rainy afternoon today here in central Kansas.
Oh, good. All right. Well, the last time we spoke, I was actually on your farm. It was last July. You were having an open house. And so how's the past year been treating you?
Pretty crazy. Been really good. Lots of growth, lots of new stuff going on, and just continuing to build and move forward. We've had really good success last year and some good crops, and the cortication facility is just continuing to improve and getting a little more efficient and grow in those ways. And this year, same thing. We've got do have all the crops in the ground. So right now, I think it's really good.
Good. Yeah, you guys put in one of those FiberTrack 660s made by Formation Ag.
Yes, we have Formation's full FiberTrack 660 set up, and we've been running it for actually just coming up right at a year. So it's rolling along pretty good.
Cool. And you put that in, and then you started to get some of your neighbor farms interested in growing hemp. Have you gotten more folks, shipping their materials to you?
Yeah. So this year, actually, our farmers group that we have, contracted farmers to grow fiber for our facility, and they will grow grain and fiber crop. But contracting fiber for our decorticator, we've actually about doubled those acres as far as last year goes.
Cool. All right. Well, talk to me about some numbers. How many acres you got this year?
We're just shy or right at 2,000 acres total growing. We have 350 acres on our farm growing, and then the balance of that, the difference there is contracted acres from farmers as far north as central Nebraska, and then down in to southwest Kansas, and then a little bit over into Missouri.
Okay. And talk to me about the different varieties you're growing. You mentioned fiber and grain.
Yeah, mostly all dual purpose fiber and grain varieties. So our main variety is Yuma on our farm that we brought in, and then we have some other varieties, some B-Lab and some Hanola, and then the rest of the varieties are basically. I guess that they would be varieties that are in Mel's trials, and then in the GHA trials that I'll let her get a chance to talk about all those. But
okay, Mel, that's your wife, Melissa.
Yeah, Melissa.
Yeah, and she's doing. Yeah, tell me a little bit about that field trial, because I would like to catch up with her at some point to hear more about it. But just give us an overview.
Yeah, so it's really cool. It was originally a 10-state trial. I think they ended up with 8 states. Had a couple that actually I don't think the states cooperated very easily with, so they ended up I think dropping a couple. But 10 different varieties, anywhere from different populations, different genetics, and then also different populations. And we did a little bit. Well, I say we. I helped plant ours, but it's definitely Melissa and GHA and her. Counterparts on that, and the other.
Right, that's the Global Hemp Association.
Yeah, Global Hemp Association. Sorry. So it's their trial. Mel just kind of helped
coordinate it,
structured and coordinated, and then went out and found all the other research facilities to do so it's actual research data that they're getting. So it's really cool. I just think you can see on social media she's keeping pretty good updates on what's going on there, but very good work, very important work to get genetics and timing and population and just all that stuff that we've got to figure out as farmers to get it to where we're growing successful crops that they're profitable.
Right. You're growing everything under pivot, or most everything, or what's the irrigation situation?
Yeah, most everything's under irrigation, and we do have some of the corners on those pivots planted to some dry land stuff. So still looking at dry land ways of doing things, but mainly under irrigation. Okay. And then we do have some actual seed stock growing for some customers included in those acres that we have on our farm.
Okay. And you grow more than hemp. You've got your big operation. You're growing corn and.
So yeah, my brother and I own and operate our 4th generation family farm. Corn, soybeans, milo, wheat, and then we have a small backgrounding cattle feeding facility that we lease out, and that's operated by Jane Cattle. So once we got the hemp side of things that we're really growing, and the various other things we have, that was one of the things we did is we leased out our feed yard, so we didn't have to babysit the day-to-day stuff on that to give us some time to focus on these other ventures. So altogether, we're about a 3,000 acre operation, and then we custom farm maybe another 1,000 acres of custom planting, harvesting, and stuff like that for farmers.
Do you put the hemp in the rotation, after corn? And so do you see, differences in, when the corn goes in after the hemp, or what kind of?
This will be the first year to actually do that. So our last 2 years we went hemp, on the same field. And then this year, yes, we followed that hemp field with corn this year. So that is one of the reasons we chose to do that, just for that reason, to see if we can see some yield bump or any notices. And we didn't really do anything different. We kind of just went from hemp straight into like a normal, corn crop.
Sure.
To see if we of course we know what that field does in the past, and it's actually one of our lighter water fields as far as irrigation goes.
Mm-hmm.
So that was why it was actually one of the top candidates for hemp in the first place, because we're light on water there. So we're really excited to see what we'll do on corn behind that, and then from there on out we'll just it'll go into regular rotations just like any other crop would.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, I'm excited to hear about that, because that could be, super game changer for all kinds of farmers, right?
Absolutely. And so really we're looking to see if we do see any kind of bump from what we would typically have on that field that would really be kind of directly related to soil conditions, because again, we're not doing anything different on fertilizers or nutrient management plan or anything like that. So any differences we do see should, pretty well be directly related to soil conditions.
Cool. Last year when I was at your farm, you took us out to, one of the stands of hemp that you said was a volunteer, like it just reseeded itself, right?
Yeah, that was one of the things we just kind of looked at. I mean, it's not an ideal, situation, but we did just do part of it to see, because it does, we do get a lot of volunteer in the nature of how the seed ripens on the head of the plant and stuff.
Yeah.
You get a lot of drop, but that was just one thing that we looked at and ended up with a decent stand. And if it was something that would be able to come back and reseed and have an additional crop, but from what we saw, we just didn't. We saw good things, but we didn't see what we really wanted to see.
Not enough.
We didn't want to take the risk of introducing any kind of diseases or anything else like that. So we just, we really just kind of, again, a lot of experimental stuff and stuff we're doing just to see what it does, right or wrong or good or bad. We got to take the lumps with the home runs too.
Right.
So it was just an experimental deal, and so.
Did you get a good harvest off of that?
Well, we did have a decent harvest. Yes, we did. I mean, it wasn't all terrible, but we definitely left some, I guess, like we like to say, left a little bit on the table for what we could have probably potentially had on a new, freshly, drilled or planted crop. So,
sure.
And again, we just didn't really think that the risk of any other, introducing any kind of, disease pressure or anything was really worth it. So.
And so how about now? Are you planted everything already?
Yeah, we have.
Okay.
We have everything is either drilled on a 7.5 inch solid stand drills, or they're planted with a 30-inch row planter, and then we've actually offset that 15 inches. So basically, it's planted on 15-inch centers. So.
Oh, okay.
And then we do have some of the fields that are in for seed stock. The customer requested 30-inch rows, so that's what we did.
That's what they got. All right. And like decent emergence, you starting to see it yet?
Oh, yeah. We got some stuff that's 8, 10, 12 inches tall already. So.
Oh, nice. Right.
Yeah. Anywhere from that to, just to starting to emerge a few inches. But, everything, all the crops, everything looks like we've got some, we've got really good stands, good emergence, and then good weed control on, and even on the conventional crops and stuff. We just had our weekly farm meeting last night. We usually every Monday evening we meet with our agronomist, my brother and I, and Melissa will come in and we just talk about the farm and talk about the hemp crops, and then her research facility is tied right into our farming operation too. So we just all sit around and have our weekly, I guess, powwow and got our scouting reports from our agronomist, and everything was looking really good.
Cool. All right. Well, Aaron, sounds like you're off to a good year. So hope that continues for you, and appreciate your time today. It's great talking to you again.
Absolutely. Thank you. Check in anytime.
Roman Fedorowycz, welcome to the Lancaster Farming Industrial Hemp Podcast. How are you doing?
I'm doing fine, thank you.
Yeah, so tell us where you are.
I'm in downtown Kyiv, Ukraine right now.
Okay, and we're hearing a lot of stories about Ukraine right now. How are things for you there right now?
Well, in central Ukraine, where we are in Kyiv, for example, in western Ukraine, it's quite quiet. But the northeast, the east, and the south is very hot and just tragic of what the Russians are doing. And the fighting is very intense. Hundreds of Ukrainian soldiers dying a day. And I'm not even talking about the civilians, which are in the hundreds every day also.
Yeah, that's so sad. It's tragic. And Putin is a madman. How do we stop him?
Well, it's not just Putin. 70% of the people in Russia support this war. This is nothing new from the Russians. They've been doing this for hundreds of years. Imperialistic goals of theirs have never gone away. They've always been around. Ukraine's been at this with them for hundreds of years.
Hundreds of years. Wow. How is it affecting agriculture in Ukraine? Because you're like the breadbasket of Europe.
Correct. Well, this year we have a number of issues. Number one, since the ports are blocked, and Ukraine is one of the biggest exporters through in many categories of corn, soybeans. Number one in sunflower oil and things like that. These are affecting markets, and we can't get our products to go out of the main ports in the Black Sea and the Sea of Azov because of the Russian blockade. Mm-hmm. And that's number one. So there's my understanding, over 20 million tons of grain that is still in the country that can't move. That's metric tons. And then the other issue is that where the fighting is going on in the south, the east, and the northeast, obviously there's no spring planting going on, and there'll be no harvest going on. Right. And on top of that, many regions west of Kyiv and north of Kyiv and east of Kyiv were mined by the Russians when they were pushed out. Oh. So I have many friends who have thousands and thousands of acres that they have to demine or remove unexploded artillery and other things out of their fields. So many of those farmers are not planting this year.
Wow. And you yourself have a 5,000 acre farm?
Yeah, we're a little over 5,000 acres. I'm in northwest Ukraine, so I'm far from the fighting. But it was a very nervous time because we're relatively close to the Belarus border, and we at one point we thought that the Belarusians might march in, and they still might. So still nervous. Right.
And you're still sort of operating normally on your farm? I know hemp is just.
The other issue is fuel. Most fuel stations are shut down completely.
Wow.
There's almost no fuel in the country, and we're rationing our tractor fuel very sparingly, and we're actually going to plant less. I mean, our plan was about 1,200 acres of hemp, and we're going to be doing only 300 or 400 tops.
Oh wow!
So and that's just because we can't get the fuel in time. It's already June 1st. We can plant maybe a few more days, and that's it. We just have to stop.
Wow. And hemp is just one crop in your system.
Yes,
right?
We're an organic farm. Our main crops are soybeans, rapeseed, spelt, hemp, and this year we're also doing some hard wheat.
Okay. So if it were a normal year, what would things be like, planting wise?
Well, we do the whole 5,000 acres. And that's about it. I mean, that's the only thing that would change. We don't. Our only problem has been the fuel.
Right.
We've been fortunate that that's our only problem.
How is your family been affected?
We're okay. I've been going back and forth between Poland and Ukraine, help bring in various things for the army and things like that. And my wife has been here the whole time. Okay. Yeah, there were some nervous days, but Kyiv was spared.
Yeah.
But the Kyiv neighborhoods were not spared. And there were some just amazing atrocities and damage and destruction of people and places and homes, and just tragic.
How do you see this ending? Like what's going to happen from here?
Wow. I don't think I'm smart enough to answer that question, but
fair enough.
Well, look, the Ukrainians are extremely united. The Russians are not motivated to fight. They're fighting just because they have to. But the Ukrainians are fighting for their survival, and I don't see the Russians winning. They may end up with some territory possibly, but Ukraine is as long as we're going to be supported by weapons from the West, we will keep. They will keep pushing, and their goal is to push them back out of the country completely.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
that's the goal of Ukraine.
Yep.
If you don't do it, they just come back, and make some kind of a deal with the Russians. It'll change in 3 years, 5 years. It's just a matter of time.
Right. Well, yeah. I mean, they took Georgia, then they came over and they took the Crimea.
You can't make a deal with them. They only understand one thing, and that's pain. They don't understand anything else.
Yikes. Oy. What else do you think our listeners should know about your situation there?
Well, that it's a lot worse than what you actually see on television. I mean, I've driven through some of these areas, and it's one thing when you see it on TV. It's another thing when you can see it, smell it, and almost feel it. The destruction. It just hits you. When you're there, and it just you don't see by the time I get there, you don't see the bodies and stuff, but you still see traces of blood everywhere. But the destruction, the sheer destruction of the buildings and homes and everything, and the force that was used to do that, you don't forget things like this.
Yeah. And you yourself are a Ukrainian American, or how do you describe yourself? And
no,
how do you...
I was born in the U.S. I lived in the U.S. many years until I was 30 something, and then I moved to Ukraine, and I've been here about 30 years.
Oh, okay. Tell me about sort of like your connections in the hemp space to the American hemp industry.
Well, we just kind of we've been watching how it's been developing slowly. We brought in our first seed for sale last year, and we sold some seeds in various states, in about almost 20 states, various trials and things like that. And this year it was substantially less of sales in the U.S., but we're introducing a couple of new varieties over the next year or two, and which are going to be substantially better for grain and fiber than the ones we've been using from the Ukrainian Hemp Institute. And we're really excited about. We're actually trialing them a little bit this past year, and this year we're trialing them in many places to get them in mass into the country next year and the year after, and Canada hopefully next year.
Right. Where can people learn more about these newer varieties?
Well, when we start putting them on our website, we're not putting them on there yet until we go through all the trials, and then we are going to start anxiously marketing them come November.
Okay. What's the name of your company?
Ukr Hemp Seed.
Can you spell that for me?
UKRHEMPSEED.
Okay. All right. Well,
I can send you my website.
Yeah, please do, and we'll put that link on our page.
It hasn't been updated, for 6 months.
Well, you've had other things going on, yeah.
So
wow.
But I'll be happy to text it to you.
Okay, thanks. I appreciate that. All right. Well, thank you for your time this morning. God bless the Ukrainians for fighting for your freedom. It seems like everyone here is on your side.
Well, that's the other thing. We're not just fighting for Ukraine, because if you don't stop Russia here, then China and all other strong-arm dictators are going to follow suit, and this is going to become a problem in many places of the world.
Yeah. Well,
it's going to be a new world order if Ukraine doesn't stop them here.
Right. All right. That's there's a lot of implications there, a lot to think about. So, all right. Well, you be safe, and again, thank you for your time. And please
thank you for having me today. I appreciate that.
Keep in touch. And
all righty.
All right. Thanks, Roman.
Thank you. Have a good day.
Our next guest is Rafael Kutrafello from Hezekiah Jones, which I assume is a hemp farm in Delaware County. Hi, Rafael. Welcome to the Lancaster Farming Industrial Hemp Podcast. How are you doing?
Good. How are you doing there, Mr. Herlock?
Oh, I'm doing good, thanks. So why don't you tell me a little bit about your operation?
Well, I don't do a whole lot of farming these days. We mostly do music, is what Hezekiah Jones is known for. But I do have a handful of tomato plants.
Oh, okay. So my next question was, how's planting going this year?
Good. We have a couple snap peas and some bush beans.
Bush beans. Can you talk about some of the genetics and the varieties of hemp?
We don't have any hemp. Any hemp this year, or to be honest, I don't think we've ever had any hemp on the.
You've never had any hemp. You're not a hemp farmer.
Turns out we're not a hemp farmer.
You're not. How did you get past security? How did you get in here?
I just kind of flashed my badge and I just kind of walked right through. They were just sitting down, looking down, reading, and I just kind of walked in.
Oh, wow. Well, tell me then about you said you're a musician? Is that right?
Do some music, yeah, but
Some
mostly
music.
I'm a tomato farmer. But yeah,
tomato farmer.
Well. Yeah.
Well, tell me about the music, because I do like music.
Well, we play a number of instruments, mostly stringed, some of them percussive, and sometimes we do it in front of people, and sometimes we do it just kind of unto ourselves.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay. So, so like you're performing like a traveling minstrel sort of thing?
You could say that. People have said that before. These days, we don't travel very far, but every once in a while we get out to Downingtown. So.
Oh, Downingtown. Yeah, that's a stretch from, you're in Delco, is that right?
That's right. Yes, Delaware County, Pennsylvania.
Huh. Are you a songwriter?
I have been known to pen a couple of songs. Yes, sir.
Wow. Well, I'm really sorry to hear that you're not a hemp farmer, but I'm happy to hear that you're a songwriter.
Yeah, I'm not sure where that confusion came from.
Yeah, that's weird.
Sorry about that.
Huh.
Yeah.
Well, would you play us a song or share a song with us? Because I don't want to waste our audience's time with this non-hemp farmer.
I'd love to. I'd love to share a song with you, my friend.
Yeah. Well, tell me about the song that you'll share.
That's a good question. How about I share you a song about baked goods?
Baked goods.
Yeah, I wrote this in home ec class in 7th grade.
7th grade home ec class. Wow. Mm-hmm. Okay. Sure. Let's have a listen.
I sit all day outside pining for some sun, it's playing ghost. I bake cupcakes for the army, they all said it was the most. Well, I'm just a mosquito, follow bother wherever you go. I spend all day outside dreaming of a box. I don't wanna know what's in it, and it's why I keep it locked. I pour water and make it shiny. Hold my focus not behind me. Well, my cupcakes are made of iron, my icing's made of sand, and the soldiers they took to it, and now I'm in high demand. Baked all morning in the backyard, waiting for the sun. Clouds didn't break until afternoon, well, after I was done. Poke some holes in the bottom of my box just to see what my logic? Who needs logic when you've got doubt? And I doubt that they're dying for nothing, nothing. Maybe not will you or I will done. The extremes have become so hairy, they're shedding like a dog. They try and wash the dust from our eyes in their own, they have a lie. No one wins a war anymore with compromise and smile. Real religion's in the mind of a child. Find a cave and practice breathing in silence. Bacon peace and outrun the violence. I'll still bake cupcakes for the army, 'cause you know they are just men. Those in charge say they're dying for us. I know it is for them. I know it is for them. I know it is for them. No one wins a war anymore with compromise and smile. Real religion's in the mind of a child. Real religion's in the mind of a child.
That's fantastic. And what was that song called?
The song is called Cupcakes for the Army.
Cupcakes for the Army. Okay, great. Well, where can people learn more about what it is you do in your world of non-hemp farming?
Well, I guess the internet.
The internet. Okay. And was I right saying that Hezekiah Jones is the name of the operation?
That is the name, and you pronounce that very well.
Oh, thank you. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
All right. All right. Well, your name is Rafael Kutrafello.
That was really good as well, yeah.
Thanks. I'm working on my enunciation.
You're doing really good. Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you very much for joining us here today. I'll let you get back to your minstrel life.
Thank you, Eric. Have a wonderful day.
Thanks. You too. Steve Groff, how you doing?
I'm doing great, Eric. Good to talk to you again.
Yeah, so it's that time of year. It's planting season, so I thought I'd call you up and check in and see what's happening down there at the Cedar Meadow Farm.
Well, 2020 hemp planting has been underway. We have about 6.5 acres in the ground of fiber hemp and a little bit of grain hemp. We're going to put some CBD out in about a week or 10 days here in the second week of June.
Okay.
And so that's the plans for this year. We're underway. What I planted about 2 weeks ago is up growing nicely. We were a little bit on the wet side, not as wet as some in southeastern Pennsylvania, but actually we have a really nice stand. They're growing great. It's looking good. I did some experimenting. I continue to experiment with seeding depth and a little bit of density and all that. There's still a lot to figure out in this whole industry, especially on the planting side. But trying to continue to learn.
So with the fiber hemp, what's the plan for that? You going to get that process? You got a buyer for that?
So I am involved with Heartland. Is a group
out of Michigan. Sure.
Yeah. They got a USDA grant to study soil health in the context of growing fiber hemp. Well, that's right up my alley. And it was kind of interesting when I saw that grant was out there. It was a little bit bigger than something I wanted to tackle, and I thought, boy, I would love to be involved with that. And wouldn't you believe, I saw the grant was funded, and I really had no connection at all to Heartland, but roundabout way, I was contacted by David Canby from Biophil Fibers, which you're aware of him, and so forth. And so actually I got involved in this grant. I thought I missed it, but it kind of came back in the back door, if you will. So what we're doing is we're growing fiber hemp this year. and biofill is going to take the production of it. But what the emphasis of the grant is to study the soil health. So right before we planted, they came in and sent a representative in here and took a very comprehensive soil test of the soil. They're going to come back, as I understand, 2 more times this year, mid-season, and then after harvest, and analyze the soil and various parameters. And then they're going to follow up with 2 years in 23 and 24. I'm going to plant corn 1 year. I'm not sure what I'll plant the other year yet, but they just want to see if there's any residual effects that the hemp had in the soil. So it's basically answering questions that nobody has really researched before to help us understand what hemp can do from a soil quality, perspective.
Right,
so it will be interesting to see. I am quite impressed with the diligence that they're doing here for this. So I'm very happy that I'm involved.
Cool. Well, I look forward to hearing more about that. As
I'm sure
the
you
results
will.
come in.
Yeah.
I thought of you yesterday when I read this story. It's the headline says, "Beloved Illinois corn maize switching to hemp this fall." And I was like, "Oh, look at that!" And I start reading it, and they're not growing hemp; they're growing sun hemp, which you sort of a pioneer in sun hemp, Pennsylvania, right?
Yeah, there's a quick little story about that. In 1999, those of you who have heard some of my interviews, that's when I first heard about industrial hemp. Mm-hmm. At that time, that's the word we used, and we had a meeting in New Holland about that. Penn State University and the Pennsylvania Farm Bureau was trying to convince legislators in Pennsylvania to legalize it. Well, we were up against a big block wall in that regard.
Sure.
That never happened, but that piqued my interest. And actually, I did some research with Penn State in 2000 and 2001. Over 20 years ago, we were trying to use some other species that were similar to industrial hemp, and sun hemp was one of it. And sun hemp is not too closely related to the hemp we're talking about now, but it does have fiber qualities to it.
Yeah. It's a legume, actually.
It is. And actually, those of you that know my story, in my background, I've been into cover crops, and turned out to be one of our favorite summer cover crops. Nice. So, it's funny how you try stuff and it turns out almost 90 degrees or 180 degrees different than what you started out with.
Right.
So, yeah, that's interesting. Sun hemp. I had heard of another sun hemp maize done in Florida already, but that is that's good. It's always good to hear. Hopefully, they're going to be promoting cover crops and so forth. But
yeah,
I'm sure there'll be some other hemp mazes around this year too, because what we did last year was really popular and a lot of fun.
Yeah. Well, last time you were on our show, you threw down the gauntlet and you challenged other farmers to pick it up and do a maze. Well, this story kind of annoys me, though, that the reporter didn't really look into it to find out that this sun hemp is not, the hemp that everyone's talking about. But
Yep.
Cool. All right. So what else? What else you got going on there?
Well, we're going to grow some more CBD hemp. I'm involved in that, and primarily now I'm very focused on my brand cedarmeadow.farm of the CBD products, the tinctures and lotions. Our lotions are really going well. You can literally test that, and almost people notice a difference immediately. So I'm fine-tuning that, but I'm fine-tuning a variety that fits my farm and what my objectives are. I remember when I first got into hemp 3 or 4 years ago, it was all about, I want the highest CBD, the highest percentage CBD hemp. Well, okay, that's kind of bragging rights, but now looking at the whole profile, we want more than CBD. We want the other cannabinoids in there as well. Mm-hmm. And so we're looking for balance, and of course high in CBD, but a nice balance of CBG, CBN, CBA, all the CBs and whatever other numbers and letters they have out there for it. So we're trying to dial one in, working with Joel Ullman of Atlas Seed and that.
Oh, yeah.
He's been great to work with, and
he's got a great reputation. He's a good guy, solid, salt of the earth kind of guy. So
yeah, that's right. So that's where we're on the CBD side. I can tell you too, Eric, that we're continuing our research in studying the benefits of CBD on the medical side of it, on human health, and how that correlates to soil health. And that's kind of a rather new, if you will, a new avenue here where we're trying to correlate the effects of healthy soil actually creating and producing a healthy or better CBD product. So we've done a lot of anecdotal stuff in hemp the last 2 years, and I have been doing this with my vegetables, and I know I have it because I know I have higher values in micronutrients and nutrition in squash and tomatoes and so forth that I grow. And we're pretty sure that's going to transfer into our CBD products as well. And I might add in grain hemp eventually when we get into grain hemp.
Sure.
I think we can produce a better, higher quality grain. But where we're at with that now is this year we're going to do a much more comprehensive study on that. It's going to be replicated and kind of more on a scientific at a scientific level. It's one thing just to say you got this; it's another thing to prove it with numbers.
Right.
So we're getting closer to that. Yeah, we're getting
Good.
closer to that. So we'll see what 2022 brings. But that's what's really exciting for me here on the CBD side of it. And
Awesome.
I know that you have been championing the fiber and the grain since the very beginning, and I'm on that bandwagon now too, Eric. I'm all about everything hemp.
Welcome aboard.
I just got to be careful with the pollination stuff.
Right.
But other than that, I think we got that figured out. But other than that, I am trying several grain varieties this year just to dip my toe in the water. So when that is legal, we'll know how to. We'll be ready to go with that. Because I honestly, I really think that the grain thing here, especially in southeastern Pennsylvania, with all the animals we have, there should be hemp.
It should be huge. Yeah.
Every single ration.
Yep.
There should be. Yep. It's like the salt and pepper, I say, of the ration. It should be in every single one. So hopefully that'll get approved soon, and we can start growing it for that market as well.
Good. Yeah. I'm optimistic on that as well.
Yeah.
So cool. All right. Well, Steve, it's great talking to you. I wish you a bountiful season, and I look forward to talking to you again soon.
Thank you, Eric. I really appreciate the opportunity.
Dale Norley, welcome back to the Lancaster Farming Industrial Hemp Podcast. How are you doing?
I'm good. Thanks, Eric.
Yeah, so I'm just, calling up people and checking in and seeing how things are going this year, as far as the hemp industry goes. And you're over here in Birch Runville, close to where I live, actually. So you're like my closest hemp farm. So I'm just curious what's happening this year.
Well, this year we're just putting our efforts into amending the soil and really actively plowing often. And I'm consulting with Rodale and Penn State Extension Services to help us just kind of upgrade the quality of our soil and lighten it up a bit because we're really fighting a clay soil. And it used to be a hay field. So we're putting our efforts into that. And we have a greenhouse that we grow smokable flower in the winter.
Okay.
Last year we tried it in the summer, but fought a big mold issue. So
just too humid around here.
It was impossible.
Yeah.
So we do have a nursery license, and we have a very early crop of seedlings happening and some sale contracts set up. So we're going to sell seedlings for the summer and just put some effort into the fields so that next year we can come back strong, and the extraction industry should be a little more stable. And so that's kind of our plan for this.
Okay, so no plants in the field this year. It's all just maintenance.
Yep.
Okay. All right. Well,
it was a tough decision, but it's expensive to put a crop in, and we're really fighting all these factors up there. So I think in the long run we'll be a lot better off. And the seedlings and the smokable flowers is carrying the financial stability of the farm over the year.
Oh, okay, good.
Yeah.
All right. Well.
So it's not terribly exciting because we can't talk about all the great things we're going to put in the field and all that, but we're looking forward to a bang up crop next year.
All right. Well, that's great. Well, you are doing something sort of exciting now, though, right? Can you tell me where you are and what you're about to do?
Well, I am talking to you from the stern of a 49-foot catamaran in Florida.
Because you're a captain, right?
Yes, yeah. I'm a 100-ton Coast Guard captain, and I deliver specialty catamarans all over the world. So this one is getting out of Florida because there's a huge storm system coming up from Cuba and the Gulf. And I'm going to head north to Savannah and duck in and let it go by and then ride behind it up to Bristol, Rhode Island, where it will spend the summer.
Wow, that is amazing.
All the hemp farmers get to talk from the back.
The hemp farmers, though, are just so fascinating to me because everybody's got something just, it just different going on. So that's great. Well,
I think that we're all pioneers and rebels in our own right because we're growing hemp, and that takes a bit of a rebel to just put your both feet in or wrap it around that. And I guess this is just the other side of the rebel in me.
Good. Well, I wish you safe travels up the coast and bon voyage. What am I supposed to say? What's the typical thing? Like not break a leg. That's for
fair
people in
winds.
theater. Fair winds.
Fair winds. And thank you. And I'll be back in about 9 or 10 days, and I'll look forward to you coming to visit us.
All right. Well, that's the show for today. Thank you for listening. May you all have fair winds and gentle spring rains and healthy soil and bountiful crops. Yeah, it is not lost on me how wonderful of an opportunity this show is that I get to just call people up and talk to them about industrial hemp and other things. So I am very grateful for that. I am grateful for you, dear listeners. And I think I want to do another one of these shows next week. So get in touch with me. I would love to talk to you too. Send an email to podcast@lancasterfarming.com. My name is Eric Herlock. I am the digital editor at Lancaster Farming newspaper, the greatest agricultural newspaper in the world. Check us out online at lancasterfarming.com. Get yourself a subscription while you're there. And also go to the show page for this episode, and I'll have links to all the different farming operations that you heard about today. And let's pray for peace in Ukraine, in Europe, and around the world. Until next time, I will see you in the newspaper.
Industrial hemp.
Season 2, Episode 22 of the Lancaster Farming Industrial Hemp Podcast is copyright 2022 by Lancaster Farming Newspaper, part of the Steinman Communications family. Today's show was written and recorded, edited, and produced by Eric Herlock. And the music you heard throughout the show is courtesy of Tin Bird Shadow, and special thanks to Hezekiah Jones for letting us hear Cupcakes for